Hey guys, come on in. I'm so sorry. I'm running just a couple minutes late today. I am doing I just finished doing a Brian Kohlberger Idaho 4 live stream today, and I just ran a little bit late with that. We're going to start Sebastian Rogers right now, though. Um, so let me go ahead and open these up. I've got a lot to dig into on this case. We're going to also go through your comments today of comments that you guys left me on the last live stream. We're going to talk about the where we are in all of this. So I look forward to sharing all of this with you guys. Let me go ahead and close this out. I did not share this on social media. If any of you guys get a chance to share it in your favorite chat room, that would just be so much appreciated. Let me grab this. Okay, so let me put a picture of Sebastian up here if I can grab one. Let me just get a picture of Sebastian. So what did you guys think about the prayer vigil? A lot of people had very strong reactions to it. All right, let's put this one. This has a great picture of Sebastian. Okay, I just want to put this young man up front and center and move myself over out of the way. Okay, so Sebastian Rogers, thank you so much for helping to keep his name out there. Today we're going to be talking about Eric Craddock and the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the landfill. Why did they search the landfill? What was it? The district attorney and what he says that he needs to charge someone in this case. And we're going to talk about your comments and see what you guys have to say about all of this. I'm also curious what you guys thought about the prayer vigil that they had. I guess they had a you're not invited list, which I thought was kind of, I don't know, like kind of harsh. We're also going to talk about what you don't want to do as what are the top 5 things, worst things a step parent can do on this case. And my name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you have not subscribed to Reporter Room, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get into this. So, how does a teenager with autism walking from his house barefoot in the middle of the night with just a keychain flashlight simply vanish? Experts say that children rarely vanish completely on their own. So, could other people be involved in Sebastian's case? Well, let's talk about uh, Sheriff Craddock. He's the deputy sheriff. So let me grab that. I have a lot of packages. Okay. And let me move myself out of the way.
My name is Dr. Stephen Park.
I got to let this play quietly. Let me mute it. Okay, I'm going to mute that because I don't want to have any music problems on the platform. So we'll let that play through. Yeah, they're really funny about doing the ads on this. Okay, but we're going to listen to him right after. So everything I'm sharing is my opinion. So law enforcement, in my opinion, they certainly have theories. I believe they have theories just the same way that you do, just the same way that I do. Okay, let's play this now. Okay, so now the video itself.
Authorities say they will not rule out foul play, but they will not say that there is a criminal investigation into the Sebastian Rogers case. Why not? Well, I talked to District Attorney Ray Whitley about what it might take to make an arrest. Sebastian disappeared from his Hendersonville home more than 6 weeks ago. Since then, professionals and volunteers searching for the 15-year-old have found nothing, no trace. Have you found evidence of Sebastian yourself when you've been out there? So how does a teen with autism walking from a home barefoot in the middle of the night just with a flashlight disappear? Experts say children rarely simply vanish completely on their own. Could others be involved in Sebastian's case?
We have not cleared anyone.
Okay, so you heard that. We have not cleared anyone. So for people who are like saying, oh, we passed the lie detector test, we're cleared. No, they haven't cleared anybody.
But we have absolutely no evidence to support foul play.
Though they certainly do have
too.
theories. So what would it take to call this now a criminal investigation? General Whitley tells me there has to be something, physical evidence, blood, Sebastian's clothing, a flashlight, or security video, or an eyewitness implicating someone. But at this point, the simple fact is there's nothing. But that's not to say that can't change. And General Whitley says he stays in contact with authorities, ready to prosecute if it does. Sumner County EMA Director Ken Widener says his crews are on call 24/7, ready to go when investigators contact them with new leads on potential evidence.
And anytime the sheriff's office indicates or TBI indicates where you've got an area of interest that we need to search, we're ready to go.
You can see the sophisticated mapping system showing the ground they've covered. Sadly, to date, no confirmed sightings and no indication whatsoever of what happened to Sebastian.
So there is now almost a $400,000 reward leading to finding Sebastian. $400,000 is a lot.
Authorities still assume that Sebastian is alive and that he will be found safe. If that's not the case, then his body must be found. Without it or any other physical evidence, we may never know what happened to the teen.
So this is Nick Barris. And let me just put up a nice picture of Sebastian. I love that one. Let me make it nice and big. Okay, so that's Nick Barris. So come on in, you guys. So let's talk about what the district attorney needs. So for those of you, let me just put out this information on Sebastian, though. Give me some grace here. Sebastian Rogers disappeared on February. He was reported missing February 26th. He was disappeared either February 25th or in the wee hours of the morning of the 26th of 2024. He disappeared from inside his own home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Sebastian was reported to be wearing black shirt, black pants with black rimmed glasses. He was supposed to be carrying a flashlight keychain. So experts say that children rarely simply vanish on their own. So could there be other people involved in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers? And we just heard Eric Craddock. Now he's the Sumner County Sheriff's Chief Deputy. He says we have not cleared anyone, but we have no evidence of foul play. So do they have theories? Yes, I think law enforcement has theories, just like you and I have theories about this case. Now, the district attorney, Ray Whitley, says there needs to be something, some type of physical evidence. His clothing, a flashlight, security video, something implicating someone for them to bring charges. And at this point, there just isn't anything. So I shared with you that I believe that the February 26th date, which is the date that is on the divorce paperwork for Katie Proudfoot and Seth Rogers, is probably significant to someone. I mean, it's 1 out of 365 are the odds that that date would be chosen for Sebastian to disappear. Now, I'm not saying anybody did anything to Sebastian, but I do want to talk about this case in general terms. And I do know that some of the motivations that crop up in cases like this, where a special needs child disappears, is greed, anger, hatred, and revenge. And in this case, I'm wondering if, revenge might be part of this. So a lot of people are concerned that Katie did choose Chris Proudfoot over Sebastian. And Chris Proudfoot now he is, in the last interview that we just saw him do with Katie, he's, says they were, really, he's really broken up He's pretending to care about Sebastian. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think about this. But he was on the phone with Seth Rogers trying to give Sebastian to him in the weeks leading up to Sebastian's disappearance. And then they were reportedly trying to enroll Sebastian in a, some type of a boarding school. So in my opinion, Chris Proudfoot saying now, this is just my opinion, that they're devastated over all of this. And maybe he is. Maybe he's devastated that Sebastian disappeared. But, it seems to me like he just couldn't get rid of Sebastian fast enough, in my opinion. So Chris and Katie Proudfoot, they have a very nice life in Hendersonville. They have a nice house. And I'm just wondering if Katie Proudfoot did feel some pressure from Chris Proudfoot. He wasn't coming home. This is what they've told us for the whole month of February. And we know that, Chris Proudfoot's been married. I think Katie's his fifth wife, sixth wife. And it seems like I think it's fifth. The one woman that did stand up for herself that we know about is Nina Gomez, right? She felt pressured by Chris Proudfoot to end her pregnancy where she was carrying Faith. She refused, and Chris Proudfoot withdrew his emotional support. He withdrew his financial support. He withdrew his physical support. And Nina Gomez had to go live with her parents in New Mexico to continue her pregnancy. And then once Faith was born, Chris Proudfoot allegedly kidnapped Faith. When Nina was having them watch Faith, the Bowersox watch Faith while she was out of town to take care of another child that was sick. She came back and they refused to turn Faith over. They didn't have they hadn't gone to court. They didn't get to go to court. They didn't go through legal avenues to take Faith. They just took her. So Sebastian's gone. So, I'm just wondering, was Chris Proudfoot possibly, allegedly, pulling something similar on Katie Proudfoot, withholding his physical support, his emotional support? Was he withdrawing his financial support from Katie Proudfoot? And when Katie Proudfoot could not rehome, because that's just what it feels like to me, that's an awful word to use, but that's what it feels like. They were trying to get Seth to take Sebastian, get him in a boarding school. Was Katie looking around at her nice house and her nice things and her nice life and looking at Chris Proudfoot and realizing that taking care of a child with special needs is hard? Does she make a choice? And I'm not saying she did anything to Sebastian, but maybe there was an argument that night on the phone with Chris Proudfoot that Sebastian heard something, and maybe he ran out or got out of the house somehow. I mean, maybe that's what that thud was. But it seems like she did choose Chris Proudfoot because she was willing to give up custody of Sebastian to Seth Rogers. That's different than doing something to Sebastian. But I do wonder if law enforcement has some theories on this, just the same way that you guys do and that I do on this case. And you guys know what I think. Alternatively, in instances of an unwanted child, the parent's needs or desires can win out over a child's life. Nina Gomez stood up for herself when Chris Proudfoot tried to use coercive control to have her end her pregnancy with Faith. She stood up for herself again when Chris Proudfoot took Faith, according to her, so this is allegedly, and refused to give her back, again, allegedly, even though Nina was the mother. And she had recently, birthed Faith. So we know Chris Proudfoot's capable of taking a child away from its parent and hiding the child from its mother. We know that Chris Proudfoot wanted to get rid of Sebastian, probably in part because of the CPS reports that were being filed. And I think Sebastian had to feel completely beaten down emotionally after just listening to how Chris Proudfoot talks to other people in the lab, where we listened to him, how he talked to the private investigator in that case, PI Heather. And we heard how he sounds when he was talking to Trish on Web Sleuth Live. We heard, so, this case did grab my attention. And Sebastian Rogers, if you don't know, he's 16 years old. He has autism. And after watching the initial interview between Katie and Chris, I just, like a lot of you, I saw red flags. And then law enforcement went to go search this landfill. And the last time we saw law enforcement searching a landfill was in the Leilani Simon, Quentin Simon case, right? And they found Quentin. Now, in this case, they did not find Sebastian in that landfill. But we know landfills can be really, really hard to search. It's really hard because, you can't bring in search dogs that can make them sick. People who are going through it have to wear masks. It's hot. It's sickening. Even this would have been in February, March, so it wouldn't have been as hot as like when Quentin Simon, they were looking for him, but it still would have been grueling. Still would have been gross. And then on March 8th, law enforcement released this, the quote, the warrant obtained in accordance with ongoing investigative and efforts and information gathered in the search for Sebastian Rogers. And they announced that they were scaling back the search and they were, quote, transitioning to a criminal investigation. And we know that Chris and Katie Proudfoot did not get on camera the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth, fifth, sixth. They didn't get on camera until 8 days after Sebastian disappeared. Now, there's no law that says they have to get on camera, and they haven't been charged with anything, so I'm not accusing them of anything. But it's just odd that they didn't get on camera to plead for the return of their missing child. And this had been turned from a child search to an Amber Alert because law enforcement believed he had been abducted. So in the very first interview that Duchess did with Chris and Katie Proudfoot on YouTube, unlike their most recent interview, where they seem, if they had come across like their most recent interview where they've had a chance to practice and listen to feedback from statement analysts and criminal profilers, in my opinion, allegedly. But here's some things that jumped out at me in the interview with Duchess. And again, I'm not saying they did anything. I just think it's odd. But one, I'm just going to go through the six things that jumped out at me during that interview. One was that Chris Proudfoot called Katie Proudfoot the mom, not Sebastian's mom. He didn't use Sebastian's name. Sebastian's mom. He didn't say my wife. He didn't say Katie. He said the mom. So some distancing language there. 2, Katie Proudfoot claims that quote, all the friends he had were interviewed. 3, at 32 minutes in, Chris Proudfoot says, quote, this is a case to be studied for sure, end quote. And we know from listening to statement analyst Peter Hyatt, statement analyst Steve Johnson, statement analyst and criminal profiler Pat Brown, that, especially Peter Hyatt really took Chris Proudfoot to task for, coming across as kind of bellicose, very concerned about his own reputation. And I just think it's, almost sounds grandiose, which is something that we see a lot in people who are narcissistic, this grandiosity. And just in this announcement that this is a case to be studied for sure, almost like he was, thinking it would never be solved. At 45 minutes in, somebody in the chat asked why law enforcement requested camera footage from Sunday afternoon. This is in the hours leading up to when Sebastian disappeared. And Sebastian says, quote, law enforcement has not authorized them, talking about him and Katie, to speak on that. I'm not sure I really believe that. And then we have this 1 hour, 13 minutes in where Katie Proudfoot says, quote, the flashlight he plays with is also missing. So why would Sebastian have taken a keychain flashlight and not a coat and not shoes? Unless he was just thinking he was going to be outside for a minute. Peter Hyatt said maybe there was some kind of a argument. Were they trying to get Sebastian to man up? Was Chris Proudfoot egging Katie on? Did the door get locked and she fell asleep? I don't know what happened that day. And then we had this, TBI issuing the Amber Alert after learning that Sebastian takes medication daily, that he was autistic, that, at times he could be verbal. And as I shared with you, an Amber Alert is generally only issued when the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations believes there's been an abduction. We know the Secret Service and the FBI also got involved. We've also heard that Katie Proudfoot allegedly, took the fifth. So if you're speaking to a federal agent like the FBI, and we know they're involved in this case, you cannot lie to an FBI investigator about something as important as a child abduction, it's considered, to be a criminal offense or a felony. So law enforcement said the canine, they lost Sebastian's, lost the canine scent, that's the dogs, lost Sebastian's scent outside the door to the Proudfoot home. Now, some people have said this dog has tracked them here, but the sourcing on that, a lot of that of where the dogs tracked, is not law enforcement. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Some of it was Chris Proudfoot. Now, maybe, he was getting briefings from law enforcement, so he has it in. I'm not saying he does or he doesn't, but I know from his private investigator that law enforcement isn't currently sharing information, because he was upset that they were sharing information with Seth's manager, Tony Mathis, and not Chris and Katie Proudfoot, not him as a PI. So if Sebastian didn't have shoes on, in my opinion, this would make his scent even easier for dogs to track, right? So did the dogs lose the scent because Sebastian did not walk away from the house? Was he lured out by somebody he met on social media? Was he abducted? Was he carried out? Moreover, AtNight is reporting that Chris and Katie Proudfoot called somebody else prior to calling law enforcement. Sebastian, on the day that Sebastian disappeared. Who did they call? And why haven't we heard anything about this person in any of the interviews that Chris and Katie have done? Is this a mistake on AtNight's part? Or is this just something that they're not sharing with us? And then Chris said he initiated a call with his phone with the sheriff's office at approximately 6:30 a.m. on February 26th of 2024. And he didn't call 911. Now, I do have a theory on why he didn't call 911 that I think makes sense. And that is that if he was in Memphis at the time of this, if he called 911, he would have been connected to Memphis PD, which in my opinion makes it even more weird that Chris Proudfoot was the one calling law enforcement and not Katie. He wasn't even in town. He wouldn't have had any real information to give law enforcement other than Sebastian was missing. So why didn't Katie, who was in town, who would have been relayed to the correct law enforcement agency, and she had the most recent information about Sebastian, why didn't she call law enforcement? We still don't have answers to this. So the Proudfoots say they think Sebastian left the house on his own, maybe sometime after midnight. And I'm just wondering why she's convinced it's after midnight. And we have this thud in the second version of Katie's events and the third version. Both have a thud, but not in the initial version. And I'd love to see the police body cam footage to see if this thud was included during her interviews with law enforcement. So now let's consider what we know about Sebastian and why we have so many concerns. We know that Sebastian left wearing black shirt, black pants, with no coat, no shoes, even though it was February in Tennessee. And that night it was around 40 degrees. And the next day it got even colder. We've heard that Sebastian was afraid of the dark. We've heard that Sebastian does not like to be dirty. We've heard that Sebastian does not even like to play outside. Even in the picture of him on the floaty, Sebastian had his shoes on in the pool on that floaty, on that picture that Katie Proudfoot shared. So we've heard from Seth that Sebastian liked to wear his shoes outside because of a fire ant incident. And in that pool picture, Sebastian's on that floaty wearing shoes. And then we've also been told by Katie that there's no video footage of Sebastian leaving the house. But we've also been told by Katie that he's never run away. We've heard differing accounts on this 3-hour call between Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot. Chris Proudfoot said he was on the phone with Katie until midnight, and he characterized it as a 3-hour call, but it really wasn't a 3-hour call, was it? It was a 2-hour and 15-minute call, not a 3-hour call. Moreover, the thud was added in the second rendition of the story. Pat Brown, criminal profiler, saw some red flags with the multiple retelling with different versions of the day Sebastian disappeared, because in Katie's initial version, there was no thud at 10 p.m. So was this thud added because something did happen at 10 p.m.? Was it added to tighten up the timeline? And why was the phone call, which was really around 2 hours and 15 minutes, expanded into a 3-hour call? Were they just incorrect when they told us it was 2 hours and 15 minutes initially? And they looked at it and, oh no, it's closer to 3 hours? I mean, law enforcement's looking at all of this information too. And then Katie said that the door was locked and that she checked the door that morning and it was locked. So how did Sebastian get out of the house? Or did he get out when she didn't know and she accidentally locked the door behind him? Is that all this is? And we're going to talk about a couple of things that were just really off or different that night, the night of Sebastian's best day ever, in just a second. Let me just say hello to chat. I don't want to be unsocial. I also want to say, if you know where this young man is, please, there is almost a $400,000 reward. Please call 1-800-TBI-FIND. So let me say hello to chat, and then we're going to dig into all of this. Let me see. I want to welcome Lead with Love, our new channel, YouTube channel member. We're going to have a channel member live stream right after this. Eastern time is New York time, not Mountain time. It's same time as the Northeast. Christina says, is she live yet? Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I know I was late. Oh, that's what you guys are messaging about. Where is she? I was late. It's me and it's past time. Yeah, I was late because I was overdoing the Brian Kohlberger live stream. Thank you, Jody, for becoming a YouTube channel member. This is our head mod, Njaz. Thank you so much for modding today, Njaz. Thank you for modding today, Jody. This is our other head mod. This is Brother Mike. Hi, Lead with Love. Glad you're here. Thank you for modding today, Veronica. Hi, Dabs. So come on in, guys. Tell me where you're from. Christina's here. Did I watch the vigil? I did. Leslie, I did watch the vigil, and I was sad that there were certain people that were not invited, and I'm not going to name them because I don't, just because I don't agree on every single case. We're not all going to agree all the time on every single case. You might agree with me on this case, but not agree with me on the Delphi case, where I think there were multiple people using that Anthony Schatz catfish account. I think Keegan Klein was using it. I think Richard Allen was using it. I also wonder if Ron Logan was using it. So we might not all agree on every single case. So I have content creators that I like them as content creators, and I follow them and support them. I'm not going to call them out, but I thought it was sad that certain content creators were told they couldn't be there. And then, not that Chris and Katie have ever tried to attend a prayer vigil, not to my knowledge. Maybe they attend them all online. I don't know. But I've never seen them at a prayer vigil. I've never seen them, meeting searchers and thanking searchers either, for that matter. But I do think it, was too bad that they were being told that, they wouldn't be welcome. I don't know. It just felt kind of weird. So I do think it was nice to have the prayer vigil, and I understand why Seth is so angry. I get it. Anger is one of the stages of grieving. And if I were in his position and I, found out about all these CPS reports and all of this other stuff, I would probably be angry too, right? I mean, who wouldn't be angry? So I get that he's angry, but I do think that it's too bad that people were literally just told they weren't welcome. Because I feel like it, is this for Sebastian? Because it is. Right? Whether you like Seth or you don't like Seth, whether you like Chris and Katie Proudfoot or you don't like Chris and Katie Proudfoot, shouldn't matter when it comes to attending a vigil for Sebastian Rogers, because it's not for any of them. It's for Sebastian. And so from that point of view, I felt like they shouldn't have told content creators they couldn't come and cover it. I thought that was too bad. I understand there's hard feelings and there's hurt feelings. I get that. I don't think there should have been telling certain people that they weren't welcome. So that was my takeaway from it. I didn't realize when I was watching it that people were being told that. And I think that's really too bad that, to find out today when I was watching videos that certain people were just told point blank they weren't welcome. Because it's not about Seth. It's not about Chris. It's not about Katie. It's about Sebastian Rogers. And to me, even if they don't like Seth, if they're getting Sebastian's name out there, that helps find Sebastian. So that was my take on the vigil. Not that anybody asked me, but that was my take on it. Hey, Jackie. Yeah, please give us a thumbs up. All right, let me see. Veronica said, I heard the prayer vigil was very nice, but someone mistook something that Seth said. Well, I think it just depends. Like, I know there was I do think Seth was angry. I think that he did come across as angry. I guess I understand. Maybe there's a time and a place, and a prayer vigil maybe isn't the time or the place. And he did do it in a way of praying, but it did come across as, kind of vengeful and angry. And I think that's too bad. But again, this was about Sebastian, and he was, there. He was the parent that put all of it together. And I'm just wondering if he's just really feeling like a certain kind of way about what happened to Sebastian. I think at the beginning he was, more optimistic. And now here we are at the 1-year anniversary with this huge reward for Sebastian. And still no answers as to what happened to him. So I don't know if it's just a different, people interpret scripture differently. I'm not even going to get into that. I don't want to touch that. I try not to talk about religion or politics on the channel, but I do wish that all of the content creators would have been felt welcome. I do wish that all of the parents would have been felt welcome. So I will say that much. Welcome, Long Island Hillbilly, to becoming a channel member. Truth Exposed says he must have spilled his coffee on his button up. Brother Mike says, welcome to you, Long Island. Leslie said, hate channels don't like anything that doesn't support negativity, hate towards Seth. I don't know. I don't watch those channels. They're hey, Selena. Hey, Lucy. Hi, Tammy. So come on in. Tell me where you're from. Truth Exposed says, when it comes to child cases, I don't get involved because I refuse to point blame at parents when a missing child case could very well be a stranger abduction case. Brother Mike said, ask Katie where Sebastian is. And Leslie said, please give it a thumbs up. Truth Exposed says, I wouldn't want to add to any parent's grief. I understand that. Thank you, Jody. I really appreciate your liking my glasses. Veronica says, I think when Craddock just said that, it was from the beginning, that little part there. Yeah, it was. I just wanted to remind everybody that nobody's been ruled out. So I have never heard the sheriff come out and say, we've ruled out so-and-so. So nobody's been ruled in. I don't know about ruled in. I don't know what their theories are, but nobody's been ruled out. Top Cat says, Katie was evasive in her last interview about what law enforcement is thinking and about what happened. Maybe they are thinking about her. I don't know. And this is my feeling about it. And the people, ask me, well, Jessica, why are you not so hard on Seth? Well, I have gone after Seth. I have. If you look at videos that I did, when they went after another content creator, Trev Time, I did go after them. So I have. I'll call it out if I see something. But the thing where I'm at with this is that, Seth has a rock solid alibi. It's ironclad. He was seen he worked at a jail as a law enforcement officer. So he was seen on camera, probably parking his car, seen on camera going into the jail, seen on camera while he was in there, and seen on camera when he left. So he was, and he was on for a 12-hour shift. So he has a really rock solid alibi for where he was that night. Now, if he had been the last one to see Sebastian, we would be having a completely different conversation. So I'm not saying anybody did anything to Sebastian, but I do see red flags. I see, a stepfather and that was trying to give him away. Crazy cat lady thinks Katie Proudfoot knows something. And it could just be something like they had a fight. They don't want to tell people about it. It could just be something like that. It doesn't have to be, any more dramatic than that, that they were just, felt shame and or maybe that she just knew he went out of the house and didn't want to, and didn't do anything that night, just wanted to teach him a lesson not to do that and just let him take his lumps. And then she fell asleep and then woke up and he wasn't there. It could have been something like that. Allegedly. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it could just be something that simple. Jody thinks somebody did something nefarious and it's time to come clean and bring Sebastian home. Thank you so much, Njaz, for this gifted channel membership. And thank you, Pepper, for the $2 super thank you. Thank you so much. She says, loving reporter room and the mods are us. Yeah, I love our mods too. It takes a team to get this going. Sassy IT says, check the backyards of everyone close to Terry Bowersox. You will find Sebastian, in my opinion. I think we should be, yeah, you said my opinion, so that's good. I don't want to accuse anybody. I just want to be careful. You guys know how I feel about this. I do think, something's wrong. Thank you for reminding everybody to give a thumbs up. This is our head mod. Njaz, if you're just joining me. Truth Exposed says, Top Cat, I know the stats. It's that 15% keeps from commenting on parents or family members. Kika says, did anyone hear about the PD cop's son story? No. Jody says, red flag, 5th married. Yeah. So he's been married 4 other times. So to me, that tells me that he sees at least his relationships with women as being disposable, right? Leslie said, I agree, Jessica. I think, and I'm not saying they know where he is. I just want to say that's not what I said. Suspect of green hoodie. Well, that green hoodie was cleared by law enforcement in case that just happened in the last week. So maybe you missed that. But let's continue on because there are red flags. So a couple of things that were just, different that night than they normally are. First of all, we had Sebastian having the best day ever. Was he overstimulated after that day? Did he have trouble settling down? What was the thud? And why wasn't it told in the first rendition of the story? And the interactions between Katie and Sebastian at the Texas Roadhouse restaurant, they were sad. They were Katie just literally on her phone, the whole, looking down on her phone while she's having dinner with Sebastian. And he's just eating. And I see him looking up a couple times. So she's not making much eye contact with him. I think she speaks to him once or twice, but she's not really engaging with him. And that's a good reminder for all of us to, when we're having dinner, put the cell phone down and, don't even bring it to the table with you. If you're out to dinner, whether it's with your son or your spouse or just whoever, maybe consider not being into our phones as much. That was sad to watch. That broke my heart. It broke my heart because, I wondered if this was their meal times regularly with Sebastian. If it was just that day she was texting. I mean, I don't know, but it was sad. They just weren't engaging. And here they were having this nice dinner out at the Texas Roadhouse. And it felt like Katie was, not present emotionally with him, in my opinion. The other thing on that night of all nights, besides the fact that it was the anniversary of the divorce papers being signed between Katie and Seth, is that we found out that Katie, who reportedly always sleeps with the dogs when Chris Proudfoot was out of town, that the dogs were crated that night. So again, in and of itself, not a big deal, but just in light of everything else not being picked up on any TV cameras, why were they in their crates that night when Chris Proudfoot wasn't home? He tells us he wasn't there. He tells us that, he had not been home for the whole month of February, or the majority of the month of February. And then we get back to that landfill. Why was that being searched? Because the last time we saw a landfill being searched like that was for Quentin Simon. So I believe that law enforcement does have working theories in this case, just like you do, and like I do. And we may not all agree on what those theories are, and that's okay. We don't all have to agree. We're not going to all agree on the same things. But I did find it interesting that Chris Proudfoot characterized, feeling devastated in relation to Sebastian Mean disappearing, when the whole time he had Sebastian with him, he was trying to give him away to Seth or put him in a boarding school. I do want to go through your comments. So let's go over to your comments, and we'll start with, let me grab this. We're going to start with subscriber comments. So let's go through subscriber comments. Make sure I'm looking at the same thing you are. Yeah. Okay. So we're all together here. And then we're going to go through some red flags. And then after this, I have a members only Q&A on this case and on the other case. So Keep in Faith says, watching on replay, I was trying to hold back this video. Everyone in this case is quite sketchy. Oh, I didn't. Thank you so much for the super thanks. Keep the Faith, Green Eyes. I will definitely thank you properly for it when this is over. So let's go through some of your comments. This is the last video I did. Love Buzz. These are public subscribers. Love Buzz 11-11 says, I'm so certain she knows what happened to him. That is why she cannot stay in the house. She's being trained on how to speak. My sense is that both of them know. We shall see, because we will not stop searching for him. East Side Rider 707 says, what plan was she making on her phone? So he saw Katie on the phone and thinks she was making a plan, it sounds like. Also says, presumption of innocence exists in the courtroom, not in public or public opinion. It's basically virtue signaling. Jennifer says, also, they both say they will continue to search for him and advocate him, but why not during this interview wear t-shirts where Sebastian's face was on it? Why not have billboards behind them with his face on it? I have seen them, to be fair, with like yard signs in other interviews, on camera with them. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe they came from somewhere else. I don't know the answer to that question. Spirit Mystery says she's going to bulldoze him. So she thought the word bulldoze, because Katie says she's going to she'd just bulldoze him over if he came in. She thought that seemed like a red flag to her. I had asked people to tell me what their red flags were. 1204 Heather says, if Chris Proudfoot has been married 3 times, well, actually, this is his 5th wife. Katie is his 5th wife. And we haven't heard from them. How do we know they still exist? Maybe they disappeared like Sebastian. I don't know. They could just be being quiet. Casper said, in my opinion, I see Katie Proudfoot broken but deceitful. I wish so much Sebastian will be found safe and well. And remember, this is everybody's just sharing their opinions. Dorothy said, he is handsome. Seth loves his son. Somehow how cute Sebastian was. Disgusted American Matt said, hey, Chris, where is Sebastian? Cindy says, wait, he put the video the same week that Seth and Tony on Lore Lodge. And we talked about that. And I don't want to rehash it today, but if you didn't watch the live stream that I did on Friday, you'll want to watch that next. Cindy says, law enforcement debunked that video within 3 hours after it aired. Lore Lodge was a month ago on a Thursday night. So yeah, the video that SF appears to be describing, I'm not saying that it is for sure, but in my opinion, it sounds like he's describing the video that was put out the weeks of Sebastian's anniversary that he was gone, of that, person who's walking along and then disappears behind a vehicle and then reappears going back up to their house. But it sounds like he's describing that video a month ago. Blankenship N says, I would have left too. It was scary to be there. And then tells me, you don't have any proof of no searching. Well, I have, if you have proof of them searching, please, feel free to let me know. It's okay if we don't all agree. Blankenship says, handicap isn't always scene stop. You don't know why they could not be for Sebastian. Calic Collector 6542 says, Chris Proudfoot's nostrils flare when Katie starts speaking, and Chris Katie Proudfoot's neck is red, hot flashes, nerves, hides. I don't know. Just noticed, in my opinion, she's talking as she shakes her head. As she's talking, she shakes her head no. And then Blankenship points out, would you be nervous with lights on you or hot? I think, and I would be. I get nervous when I have to even go live. So anyway, I just wanted to go through some of your comments, and I wanted to specifically focus in on subscriber comments from the last show that we did. And let's continue on. I want to go through the 5 worst things a step parent can do. And again, I'm not saying Chris Proudfoot did anything. This is just a general guide. So I'm just talking about this. But it says step parents who are fraught with control issues, jealousy, resentment, or contempt for their spouse's biological children can wreak havoc on a blended family household. Furthermore, the traumatic emotional impact that it will have on their stepchildren's sense of self-worth, acceptance in the family, and self-confidence is tremendously underestimated. Getting the right professional support through individual counseling for blended families or seeking therapy for step parents can change this dynamic quickly. 1, always telling their spouses how they need to raise their children. So this is like some negative things that they're pointing out. And then they say maintaining healthy boundaries as a step parent is key. You may ask for your advice at times. Your spouse may ask for your advice at times, but they do not need your criticism, negative impressions of their children, or subjective feedback. If you cannot speak kindly or offer constructive, objective feedback, then back out and encourage them to talk to their co-parent instead. 2, discouraging communication with a co-parent and blocking the co-parent dynamic. A step parent should do everything in their power to encourage a healthy co-parenting relationship between their spouse and the other co-parent. In this case, it would be Katie and Seth. When a step parent feels jealous or like they need to gain control, they may not allow this relationship to thrive. They also show a lack of trust in their spouse. When a step parent undermines their spouse's, and again, I'm not saying anybody did this, I'm just talking in general terms, undermines their spouse's co-parenting relationship in ways such as monitoring or making a rule for communication, criticizing or belittling their spouse's co-parent, or refusing to be a positive influence in that dynamic, they become a huge detriment to their stepchildren's success. So how did Sebastian feel? This is something Peter Hyatt wanted to know. How did Sebastian feel living in the house with Chris Proudfoot? 3, treating stepchildren as less important or with less value in the home. When a step parent moves in, the family hierarchy that was established after the divorce changes dramatically. Even more so if they bring more children into the home. And we know that Faith was brought home for the Christmas holidays and that Sebastian went with Seth. So I'm not sure, that could have just been a planned event, where they just all the fathers had custody of the kids during the holidays. But a child who loses their place in the family structure, and I'm wondering, if Sebastian was feeling a certain kind of way about this, can begin to feel unwelcome or unwanted. And if a step parent perpetuates this by favoring their own children or consuming the entire home, the spouse's children will soon wish that they could avoid going to that home altogether. 4, making negative comments about stepchildren or talking about them critically. Any step parent who makes a choice to criticize, character assassinate, or breed negativity about their spouse's children is a bully. And we've heard Peter Hyatt describe bullying, he felt, in his opinion, in relation to Chris Proudfoot. When a step parent behaves in this way, they may think they're doing a good thing by sharing their opinions, but they're simply trying to undermine, control, and be malicious. 5, always butting in during discipline. This may be a no-brainer, but this boundary gets and we heard about this with Nina Gomez, where she just really had to say, she seems like the one that could stand up for herself. But she felt like Chris was overstepping her authority and her boundaries with her own children from a prior marriage. She didn't like the way he was disciplining her kids. So this should be a no-brainer, but this boundary gets blurred far too often. The dynamic between a biological child and a parent is sacred. When a step-parent butts into discipline or exercises control over their stepchild, two things can happen. First is that their stepchild loses respect for their biological parent for being weak and allowing this takeover to occur. And then the second is they lose respect, trust, and affection and loyalty to their step and biological parent. They will begin to shut down when in the home and avoid conversations and feel devalued. So do you think that Sebastian felt valued in this house with Chris Proudfoot? I'm just curious what you guys think about that. Spirit says, I can't help but wonder if any of his ex-wives never came forward to say Chris Proudfoot is not capable of doing anything to a child, yet none of them have done that. No, I haven't heard any of them coming out to defend Chris Proudfoot, but I've only heard, also haven't heard any of them come out to, implicate him. Sorry. Hi, Princess Elsa. Leslie says, wasn't Chris Proudfoot ordered to take anger management class? He was told to take classes. I don't remember if they were specifically anger management, but they were definitely in regards to taking care of children. Hey, Cheez-Its, cute name. Always choose your children first. How many times have we seen mom choose the boyfriend or the father or the stepfather over their own children? I mean, we've seen this in the Stephen Stearns case with Maddie Soto, where it seems like Jennifer chose Stephen over her daughter. We've seen it repeatedly. Lori Vallow Daybell, she watched JJ, who also had autism, get carried out of the house by her brother Alex. And that was the last time JJ was seen alive. And the next time they found JJ, he was buried in Chad Daybell's backyard. So Jody, yes, thank you. Choose your children first. Robin says, in my opinion, they are narcissists. They are liars. Oh, let's be careful. Let's be careful. I don't want to get into any trouble with anybody. So I know you said in your opinion, Robin, and you are entitled to your opinions on them, but I just don't want to have any drama with anybody. There's so many lawsuits flying around. I just don't want to get into any trouble. Please give this a thumbs up. Help me out with the YouTube algorithm. You guys know how I feel about this case. I think I've made it really, really clear. Spirit 8 says, I can't help but wonder if any of his ex-wives never came forward. Chris Proudfoot is just not capable of doing anything to a child, yet none of them have ever done that. Yeah. Hi, Dorothy. Dorothy says Sebastian probably felt on edge most of the time. I'm wondering that too. Leslie thinks Sebastian was living a nightmare in that house. I just wonder how awful it would have felt to be in the house where your stepfather is trying to get your father to take custody of you. It's hard to believe that Sebastian wouldn't have been aware of it. Do you think, let me just ask you guys, drop this in the comment section below. Even if you're in the top chat, leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I'll go through your answers during next week's, not next week, but the live stream we have coming up in a couple of days on this. But let me know if, what you think. Do you think Sebastian felt cherished and valued in the house with Chris and Katie Proudfoot, or in the house, or in the house with Seth? And could this have been a motive for him to, try to run out the door that night? I mean, I don't know. Would he feel like he was caught in the middle? His stepfather's making arrangements to have him go live with Seth. It's hard to believe Sebastian didn't know about it. It's hard to believe Sebastian didn't know about it. Sasha, so I agree, Leslie. Sasha said they were checking the dump because the garbage was heavier, and Sebastian said he was just like garbage. I don't know. I remember this. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Sasha. Blue Rose Ramblings, what a pretty handle, says, I can't see why she stayed married to him. Maybe birds of a feather. Well, I don't think they could ever get divorced now. if this, I think it's going to be really hard to get divorced now. I think they're going to be together now till Sebastian's found. Because if he tries to leave to go marry the next one, I guess he could, but it just seems like people are going to be like, you left the mother of a missing child. It's just not going to be a good look. I don't know. Kelly said, I'm new here, but I don't think he felt valued at all because of some of the things that he said to his peers at school. Yeah. Long Island Hillbilly says children with developmental difficulties shouldn't be disciplined harshly. I agree. When I saw that handicapped thing on the car, and I'm not saying she shouldn't have had it on the car, and she shouldn't be allowed to park in a handicapped space. Some people took it that's what I meant. That's not what I meant at all. But my feeling was that because if he's so handicapped that you had to have a disabled, to be able to park close to the Texas Roadhouse, then to me, there's no way anybody should have been putting their hands on him either. Nobody should have been putting their hands on Sebastian, and definitely not with a belt. If you think I'm wrong, let me know and tell me why in the comment section below. It is weird that nobody has come forward. There's this huge reward, almost $400,000. Thank you for modding today, Pepper. Hi, Kelly. Queen says, of course he felt like this. And Jazz agrees with you. Curiosity says, hello, hello. Spirit 8 said, ex-wives would give us a view. That's what it's like to live with Chris Proudfoot behind closed doors. Things can be very different and explain a lot about that person. They don't support or trash him, in my opinion. Oh my gosh, before I forget, I don't think I've done this today. I usually do this at the top. I do want to just say thank you to all of our producers and Jazz, Sasha, Angel. I'm not ending. Mikey M, George Brown, and Pepper. Thank you so much. Thank you to our channel members. I just normally do this at the beginning and I think I forgot. So thank you to our channel members. Subscribing is free and I can't get to 40,000 with subscribers without you. And please drop me a comment. I will share them during the next live stream. I'll share all the subscriber comments on the next live stream if you would like to have your comment appear on the show. And if you want to become a channel member, the join button is right next to the subscribe button. But subscribing is completely free. And thank you so much. This is super thanks and coffee gratitude. Thank you so much for your generosity and gifted channel memberships. And Jazz Pepper, thank you so much. And then okay, so I'm not done. Let's talk about the reward. Make sure I'm looking at the same thing you guys are. Okay. All right. So the FBI is pleading for information on the disappearance. They've offered a $50,000 reward. They first offered the $50,000 reward last August. But now, with all of the other reward money together, the reward fund is just under $400,000. The TBI continues to assist the sheriff's office following up on leads, according to officials. And says, quote, our hearts remain with Sebastian's family, friends, and everyone in the community who continues to hope for answers. This is a Sumner County Sheriff Eric Craddock said in the department's Facebook page, quote, this has been a long and difficult journey, but we want to assure the public that this investigation remains active and ongoing. Our team continues to follow every lead, analyze every piece of evidence, and seek the truth about what happened to Sebastian. So let's talk about the reason that Chris Proudfoot gave, that he was in Memphis on a business trip when Sebastian was missing. Then the Proudfoots told Nancy Grace that they moved out of Hendersonville citing threatening messages. I addressed that. I told you guys that I don't think wild horses would have dragged me out of that house. I would have had somebody come stay with me. They had family in town with the Bowersox. And law enforcement had told Katie not to search, to stay at the house in case Sebastian came home. But yet, within weeks, she's gone. She's left not only the house, but left the state. Close calls, but nothing confirmed. So they did get tons of tips, but I think, now they're just asking for just really, credible tips. We had that sighting of what we hoped was Sebastian in North Carolina. It didn't end up being true. Now, Seth thought it might be him and went to North Carolina. And then they found eyeglasses in April of 2024, but it turns out they weren't Sebastian's. So it's just been, a roller coaster ride for the family, for the loved ones. And, I do feel like we saw, a really a nicer take, in my opinion, on Chris and Katie than what we've seen in the past. I think if we had seen an interview like what we saw in this interview, on their initial interview, rather than, what we heard with the mom and just the bizarre first few interviews that they gave that just raised so many red flags. I think if this had been their first interview, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But it was not. Well, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. I have a members only live stream, so I'm going to do that next. So if you're a channel member, come on over to that next. And I will see you guys on the next Sebastian Rogers video. Drop me a comment in the comment section below, and I will share it on our next live stream. And thank you so much for caring about Sebastian, for showing up for his live streams, for showing up for Sebastian. And I will see you and thank you also for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. I'll see you next time.